Okay, and there it is. We are live. It is 5:04 on Tuesday. It's live at 5. Hi, everyone. If you are getting to join, I am glad you're here. I hope everyone is staying safe and doing well. Is my camera on? Yes, it is. Perfect. So yeah, if you are here, go ahead and let me know. Put your name in the chat. As you guys know, we didn't have Lindsay with us last week, but she got a well-deserved night off, got to indulge, relax, which is good. And I was with you guys, but she's back, which is great. We are talking about doing live at 5 in person again. Obviously, the brackets, Lindsay and Josh would be virtual because they live elsewhere now. It's Arizona, right? Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, it's a state that starts with an A, and I know it's somewhere in the West, but there are a lot of states that start with an A. Anyways, Arizona. But we would all get together at the OC, probably around 3-ish, and we would all watch together in our classroom. So could be a great opportunity for us. I've talked to a lot of youth who would be really excited about going, about having the live in person to an extent. So could be pretty cool. Sorry, I'm trying to mute myself so I can look at the chat, see who's with us. There we go. No one yet. We'll give it a few seconds. I can, while we wait for some people to hop on, I'll go ahead and get started with just a few announcements. So we started getting Christmas lists ready to go in the end of September, and October is already almost over, which is really insane. But October 31st is the deadline for getting your Christmas lists in. That does fall over the weekend. So for us, it's more like the 29th. And that's just in a couple days. 3 days. So you guys make sure that if you are wanting to do a Christmas list, that you're thinking about that and getting with your coach about that. If I happen to be your coach, I'm going to be out of town on Friday. So I got to have it in by Thursday this week. That's just 2 days. So be sure to let me know. Also, next week at Live at 5, we will be doing our little wheel thing. I'll be calculating how many times each person has attended, and then we're going to do the drawing for the gift card that we promised to those of you. Oh no, sorry, I messed that up. If you attended 3 times over the past week, you'll get your gift card as usual, but we'll draw for the $100 prize. We'll do that next week. So those are all the announcements that I have. I don't see anyone hopping on yet. But Lindsay, if you are good with going ahead and getting started, I can send out the link to a few people, and we probably also have a few more jump on. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, awesome. I'll turn it over to you.
All right, so we're staying with our food meal making theme. Yeah, so tonight it's called Keeping It Fresh. We're gonna be talking about how to keep our food fresh and also safe. So I know if you're anything like me, you might buy some like fruits and veggies, and then you go to eat them a few days later and you're like, oh man, this didn't last. So we're going to talk about how to keep it fresh. So that way, whenever you go to your fruits and veggies a few days later, or maybe your herbs, they'll still be useful to you, and you don't have to like spend money just to throw it in the garbage. Okay, so apples are great. Apples actually last a long time, longer than a lot of other fruits. So apples are going to be the first thing. And to keep them fresh, you have a few different options. So whenever you slice up apples and they start to turn brown, which is totally fine. That just means that oxygen is like hitting this, like the inside of the apple, and that's what makes it brown. It's just it's exposed to oxygen. So it's not going to really affect the taste. It might affect the texture to some extent, but it's still good. So don't, if you have a brown apple, like it's generally still good. But if you don't like that look and you want to keep your apple super fresh and not brown, you can try soaking it in a brine. And so a brine is just another word for salt water. It doesn't take a lot of salt. So you take like a quarter teaspoon of salt, you mix it with 2 cups of water, you soak it, your apple slices. So you've washed your apple, you've sliced it, and now you're soaking your apple slices. And that will help your apple slices stay white and crisp and clean for up to a week. Or you could try some lemon juice. So lemon juice is really just citric acid. So citric acid is what's going to be like the agent that keeps your apple slices really nice and fresh. So what you'll do is same thing, you'll wash your apples, slice them up like you normally would, toss them in some lemon juice. You can use like the already like prepared lemon juice, which is what I actually recommend because it's more cost effective. Or you can buy a lemon. Lemons can be expensive. You can buy a fresh lemon, squeeze it over your apples, or get a jar of lemon juice, which is what I do, and it lasts like months. And then you can just toss that over your apple slices, and it'll keep it like really nice and fresh for a few hours. And then you can also use lemon lime soda, like 7-Up or Sprite. What you would do, just like with the brine, is that you would soak your apple slices in your 7-Up or your Sprite for about 10 minutes. You drain them, but you do not need to rinse them. So when you're using your brine or your salt water, make sure that you rinse your apples so they're not salty. But if you're using lemon lime soda, then you don't need to rinse them. And this will keep them fresh for just a couple of days. And then a few other tips when you're going to the grocery store. Pick smaller apples. They tend to last longer than big ones. And then any apples that have bruises or nicks, they should be eaten as soon as possible. Also keep them away from your other apples. So if you get one and you take it home, you take it out and you're like, oh man, it's bruised. Go ahead, separate it out, eat that one first because it could affect your other apples. And then keep them refrigerated or in a cool place, and they can actually last up to 6 weeks. Okay, so bananas. It's hard to get a banana to last like a week, right? Like that seems like a long time for a banana. They're super cheap, super cheap. You do not have to buy them organic. You can buy them like conventional. They ripen much quicker in a warm environment. So if they're like exposed to any sunlight or if they're kind of like in a warm space, they're gonna ripen faster. They might start to get some brown spots, and they will also ripen faster when they're kind of bunched together. So what you can do when you get them home, you get your green bananas, or maybe they're like a green yellow, and you want them to last for a while. So you go ahead, break them up from their bunch, and then wrap each stem of the banana in some plastic wrap, and that will help keep them fresher for longer. Because what they do when they're all bunched together is that they release these gases, and the gases get trapped in between the bananas, and that's what makes them brown. Now, if you end up with some brown bananas, it's all good. You can still eat them. Banana bread is a great choice. You can throw them in some smoothies. You can put them in your oatmeal, mix them in with your oatmeal in the morning. Still use your brown bananas. They're actually much sweeter. I know they don't look as pretty as like a yellow banana, but brown bananas are actually much sweeter, and so they're great for baking. So you don't have to use as much sugar. You can also freeze them. You can peel the whole banana and put a popsicle stick in it, freeze it for later. It makes an awesome snack. Or slice it up, put it in a freeze container. It makes an awesome snack. They're super sweet later. Or you can dip them in chocolate. If you've ever seen those chocolate covered bananas, they're covered in peanuts or any sprinkles, I don't know. But they're super delicious. So you can still take like a brown banana and freeze it. Or if you were like worried of like, oh my goodness, I like caught too many bananas, I can't eat them all, freeze them and they'll be like perfectly fine later on. Okay, avocados. I love avocados. They're super, super healthy. They're very filling because they are very fatty. And because they're so fatty, they keep you full longer. So like really good fats, and they have like a lot of omega-3s. Super healthy for you, a really, really good fruit for you to eat. I love avocados. I probably eat one every day. They're so good. And they're super, super healthy, especially for your heart. They're really good for your heart health. But what happens is like you go to the store, I don't know if this ever happens to you, but like I go to the store and they're like usually all super ripe and mushy, or they're like all really green. It's very rare that I find like one that's in between. But the way that you can check it is you like pop off the little stem and you look inside and it looks like a beautiful green avocado color. It's ready. It's perfect. It's a little soft. It's ready. It's perfect. If you need to ripen it because you go to the store and all they have is like green avocados, then what you can do is you can ripen it in the oven, put it in there for like 200 degrees for 10 minutes until it's soft, and it will help ripen it. So it's just like bananas, avocados will ripen in a warm environment. And what's also really interesting is you can get like a paper bag, maybe a plastic bag. And if you put your bananas in with your avocado, everything will ripen much faster because all those gases are going to be releasing, and your avocado will actually ripen much faster with the bananas because the bananas will help kind of activate that ripening process. Now, once you open your avocado, you want to keep it like super green because they brown very quickly, like within a couple of hours. They just start to oxidize. So you can squeeze some lemon, some lime. Again, I recommend getting some jar juice. It's much more cost effective to do that than buying like whole lemons or whole limes. And it's less work. It's just better. So buy like a jar of juice. Put like a teaspoon, a tablespoon, however much you got over your avocados after you slice them. Boom, and they'll last like a few hours without browning. Now you can also cut a red onion into some like pretty big chunks, put them in the same container as an avocado. Do not open your avocado, okay? Because then it will taste like onion. But if you keep the red onion chunks with your whole avocado, like unsliced, then it will last longer and it won't affect the taste that much. So that's something else that you can do if you want to just like have it last for a couple more days. Chop up some onion, and then you can also maybe use it for your guacamole, right? You can like chop up your onion some more and use it with your guacamole. Okay, carrots and celery sticks. So if you've ever gotten like a bag of carrots and you've noticed this white film, that's because they're dehydrated. They need water. Something that I do is I take them home, either like whole carrots. So I usually buy whole carrots instead of baby carrots because it's much more cost effective to buy them in bulk. It takes a little bit more work, but it's totally worth it. You buy like little baby carrot sticks, you don't have to do any work, it's like ready. But if you buy the bulk carrots, you take them home, you wash them, you peel them, you slice them, and then you're good. Like you're good for the whole week. Same with celery. You take it home. Sometimes celery is like less than $1. You take it home and you got like a snack for like all week. And so you wash it, you cut it up into sticks. Same with your carrots, cut it up into sticks. Sometimes you can mix them. And then what you'll do is you'll put it in like a container of water. So I've got like these little containers that have a lid, just whatever you've got on hand. You fill the container with some like nice fresh water. You make sure like your carrot and celery sticks are submerged in the water, and they will last that way for up to 2 weeks. You do need to replace your water every other day to keep it like super fresh and not get slimy. So just keep that in mind. Also, don't be surprised if your water turns green or orange because it's soaking up basically like the nutrients from the vegetable. So keep that in mind. Like you want to eat it as soon as possible so you get all those nutrients in your body and not in the water. but it's a really good way to keep your carrot and celery sticks fresh and also super crisp and just like really, really yummy. Lettuce. Okay, so lettuce also super cheap. You buy it from the store. When you buy it in a salad, it can be a lot more expensive, but if you buy just like a head of lettuce, it's super cost effective. Like again, like sometimes less than $1. So you buy a head of lettuce. I always recommend not making your salad like pre-mixed, because once you like mix other stuff in there, especially dressing, it starts to turn immediately. Like it starts to break down the lettuce. So you like you make a big bowl of salad, you like put some dressing on there, and like immediately it starts to break down. And if you have leftovers, the next day it's going to be like super mushy. Instead, always wait to dress your salad until you're ready to eat it, and only dress what you're going to eat. So only put dressing on what you're going to eat. Keep your salad or your lettuce separate from your other vegetables if you can. And then to help your lettuce stay fresher, you can put a paper towel on your leftover lettuce. Like if you've got a bowl left over, wrap it up in some plastic wrap. The paper towel will absorb the moisture, so your lettuce stays really crisp and nice and fresh. Or when you get home from the grocery store, you can wash your lettuce, cut it up, and then wrap it in a damp paper towel, and it will help keep it like really crisp and yummy for your salad later that week. Keep it away from fruits, because they release some gases, and that will break down the lettuce and make it like really wilty and sad. So keep your lettuce away from your other fruits, so that way they don't break it down. And you can do the same thing with herbs. So herbs, you can get a package of herbs like rosemary, parsley, cilantro, whatever. And sometimes they come in those containers, but you can buy a bushel, and a bushel again will be much less expensive than buying it like pre-washed in a package. So you get like a bushel of cilantro, whatever herb you want. You take it home, you wash it, wrap it in a damp paper towel. So like get a paper towel wet, wring it out really good, wrap your herbs in it after you wash them, of course, and then put them in your drawer, and they'll stay like nice, fresh, and crisp for later that week. Okay, so leftovers. So the FDA has some rules about leftover. Basically, if it's been in there for a week, you're really susceptible to bacteria. Bacteria will make you sick. That's how you end up in your bathroom for 3 to 5 days. So don't do that. Think about like, okay, how long have I had this? Mark it with a date. Do whatever you have to do. Do not eat old food, because it can make you seriously sick. Okay. So the longest shelf life is going to be like your more processed meats, like bacon and hot dogs, because they have more preservatives in them. Also, your stews and your soups generally last longer. So you make a nice big crock pot over the weekend. You have it for lunch or dinner all week. That should be fine, but by the next weekend, we should be done. Okay, 5 days you have for your like deli salads. So your pasta salads, anything with like eggs, your macaroni salads, like all that kind of stuff, your prepared salads, that's really like five days. And by the way, if you're buying that from the store made already, check the date. And then after you open it, you basically have 5 days, maybe 3 days to eat it. So like pay close attention, especially if it has mayonnaise or egg in it. Open lunch meat. So you go to the store on the weekend, you get some deli meat for sandwiches. By Friday, all that should be gone. Only buy what you need for that week, because that can turn after 5 days and start growing bacteria. And then let's say you get steak, pork chops, any type of chop, roast, whatever, also 5 days if it's not frozen. So we're assuming that it's in the refrigerator. 3 days, you've cooked some meat, you have some leftovers. That's really, you need to use that within 3 days. And then like any processed foods, like your pizza and chicken nuggets, that needs to be eaten within 3 days. And then your shortest life is going to be your raw sausage, beef, and poultry meat, like chicken or turkey. So your raw meats, you take it out of the freezer, you're going to use it, or you buy it from the store, use that within 1 to 2 days, or cook it within 1 to 2 days. And then especially seafood and sushi, that's like within 24 hours. And then the texture changes. It starts growing bacteria. It's like not a good situation. And the longest shelf life, so we've got onions can last up to a year. Oh my goodness. Yes, you buy an onion and it's good all year long if you keep it in a cool, dry place. Pomegranates can last up to 2 months in the freezer. So fun fact about pomegranates, you don't eat like the outside, you don't eat like the fruit part, you only eat the seeds. So with pomegranate juice, anything with pomegranate in it, you're eating like the juice from the seeds or the seeds. So you can store the seeds by themselves, not the whole pomegranate, in the freezer for up to 2 months. You can store the whole pomegranate in the refrigerator for up to 2 months. And then you can store it out at room temperature as long as it's away from like direct sunlight for up to 2 weeks. Potatoes also have a really long shelf life.
Hey, Lindsay, I have a quick question. I'm so sorry. I know you're on a roll. We have one in the chat that is relevant to shelf lives. Someone asked about milk. Where does milk fall? It's a good question.
Yeah, so milk is going to have like your best by date. So your sell by is going to be different than your best by date. But usually if it says best by, that's for like optimum freshness. But once you've opened your milk, it's really within a few days, like within that week. Because milk can last longer by your best by date or your sell by date. And usually after your sell by date, you have like a week or like another week. But like once you open your milk, and you have a few days, basically like within a week to drink it. But definitely check your dates and that will help tell you how long you have.
Perfect. Thanks, Lindsay.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, okay, so the thing about potatoes is that like they last a super long time, but once you notice them starting to sprout or soften, they like start to be kind of soft or green. They get green, they get soft, or they like start shooting out sprouts. You need to toss those bad boys because they will make you sick. They can actually do a lot of damage to your body. And if you have like one bad potato, it starts to sprout or get mushy, then all the other potatoes will start to like get on that bandwagon. So you need to like pick it out, throw it away, and then check all your other potatoes, make sure they're good. And they'll last, a couple of months, but you just have to make sure that you're checking on them. And then also keep them in a place where it's like dark and it's cool, they'll last longer, and they have airflow. So when they don't have any airflow, they can get kind of moldy, which is what makes them kind of soft and break down, and the sprouts start to come. So like keep them dry and then keep them cool and dark. And then, oh my gosh, it's almost like winter squash season. And acorn squash, super yummy. Acorn squash is so good. Do not be intimidated by it. And it'll be on sale very soon. Butternut squash, so yummy. Spaghetti squash, really good. There's all sorts of squash. I know it can be intimidating, but like you just basically put the whole squash, put the whole squash in the oven, and then you cut it open, scoop it out, and you can eat it, season it. It's delicious. Some butter and some seasoning on it. It's amazing. So those last several months. Kind of the same thing with potatoes. You got to keep them in a cool, dry place. You have to keep them away from sunlight. And then try to buy them with their stems still attached because they will last longer than not attached. But again, they last a long time. They're really good with soup. You can make squash fries. You can like toss them in with some meat. You can do all sorts of things with squash. Spaghetti squash, you can like eat like pasta. You put some sauce over there. Put your whatever meat you kind of like on top of it. So good, you guys. And that's it. That's what we got. This is how you keep it fresh.
That was awesome. My mom sent me a picture the other day. She was like, hey, I'm trying acorn squash. I bet you'd like this. And I was like, I've never heard of that. But I love squash. Also, my question is there a difference between yellow squash and butternut squash? Are they the same thing?
There's a yellow squash. It's like a summer squash that kind of looks like zucchini. It's like really skinny and kind of long, which is different than butternut. Butternut squash is like this big old, like it's a big guy. kind of like spaghetti. Spaghetti squash and butternut squash are like big, almost not pumpkin, but they're like in the pumpkin family. So they're like these big gourd squashes.
Okay. Yeah, what I buy is kind of like zucchini. I think that's squash. That's different. I love squash though. I love zucchini. I really liked your tips about avocados because there are so many jokes out there about avocados being like hard as a rock, and then you come back 5 minutes later and it's just brown and mushy. I feel like that happens to me all the time. So those tips about how to ripen one in the oven, because I've always thought like there's got to be a way to get this avocado like at least like a little bit softer before I use it, so that was a super good trick. I also really liked your tip about how leftovers typically need to be eaten like within a week max, if not way less than that, because I'll be honest, sometimes it's been in there for 3 weeks. So like I should probably eat that soon. So that's good to know. I have been known to eat expired food and eat it way after I'm supposed to. So these are really good tips for me. We've got 5 people watching now, so I've got a good crowd. Well, 4 because I'm one of them. But yeah, so we had a question about milk, and I'm not seeing any other questions about food or groceries and keeping food good for as long as you can. So you guys, if you can think of any questions, let us know. In the meantime, I have like a super random question, Lindsay, because I'm cooking tonight. And I have a question. Have you ever done, like, I'm really sorry, this has nothing to do with what we're talking about at all. Oh wait, no, I'm being saved. We have a good question. If you do know how a fruit okay. The question is, if you do know how a fruit is going bad if you can't see mold. Maybe one way to phrase that is, how do you know if a fruit is good or bad if you can or can't see mold? Maybe that, Arrow, let me know if that is a good way to phrase the question. I'm a little confused. Lindsay, and any stabs at that one?
Yeah, so berries, if you don't see mold, just go ahead and rinse them off, clean them, give them a good rinse. You can toss them in some white vinegar, kill off any bacteria or whatever that's still on there. So berries, as long as you don't see mold, they're probably still good. Apples are probably still good. You won't see really mold on apples. As long as they're not soft and, mushy, like they last several weeks. So you're probably good. Bananas, they're bad if they're like super brown and black. Plums, nectarines, those will grow mold when they start to turn. So yeah, I would recommend just like buying them, washing them, drying them off really well, and then just keeping them in your refrigerator to help them last longer. And as long as they're not mushy, they're going to mold faster. Like the fruit's going to tell you when it's going to go bad.
Yeah. One thing I do is like, I look at the appearance and see if there's anything really off-putting, like a big moldy spot or like a bruise or something like that. Yeah. And then smelling it too. I mean, if you bite into an apple, it tastes terrible. Like, don't eat it. I don't know. Sometimes that's as simple as it can be. Arrow, let me know if that answered your question right. Because I think I butchered the phrasing a little bit. So let me know if that covered it. But we have another question. Not sure if you had seen it, but I was wondering how to cook with having someone that is allergic to dairy protein allergy. So I guess cooking with maybe if you're having someone over or you're cooking with someone that is allergic to dairy or has a protein allergy.
Yeah, so my youngest daughter, Clara, she can't have any cow's milk. And so what we find is we substitute a lot with goat's milk. Goat's cheese is like super yummy. Like feta cheese is usually all sheep's cheese. So we look for like sheep's and goat's milk a lot. And then, if no dairy whatsoever, then coconut milk is a really awesome substitute. Coconut cream, and there's different like levels of heaviness, kind of like you have with milk, of like skim to whole. So you can get coconut milk, which is really light, so it's more like a skim milk, or you can get coconut cream, where it's more like a heavy whipping cream. It's really thick. So and you can like water it down, obviously, if you need to. If you get like a can, that's the other thing. It comes in a can, so it lasts a while. You can just like store it in your pantry. and it doesn't go bad like milk or dairy. But yeah, that's kind of like our go-tos is there are some butters and some cream cheeses that are made with nuts, but she also has a nut allergy. So we tend to look for things that are goat and cheese and coconut because she can't have soy. She can't have cow's milk. She can't have a lot of nuts. So she can't have like tofu, for example. So we have to be like super creative. And we find ourselves coconut milk, oats milk is another really good one. And sheep and goat's milk.
I love that. That is a great answer to that question. Also, another question is, do you wash fruits and vegetables with soap? And we actually talked about that either last week or the week before. No, you don't. There are some brands out there that are trying to sell like vegetable wash or produce wash. Likely they're just probably putting normal soap in a bottle and charging extra for it. You don't really need that. Just water's good. And then drying it off with a paper towel afterwards to get the extra dirt off. So, yeah. Good question, y'all. Keep them coming.
If you do really worry about bacteria on your produce, you can always use white vinegar and do a white vinegar rinse. I do not recommend soaking anything in white vinegar though, because it will take on that vinegar taste, and that can be very off-putting.
Yeah, true. Okay, we've got more on the allergy. They said she's just allergic to the protein in milk, like can't break it down, but she is allergic to almond milk. So I'm not sure if she has a nut allergy, and I believe she's allergic to soy as well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna same thing with my daughter. And so I would stick with coconut. Coconut's super safe. It's also so good for you. Really good for your heart, really good for your immune system. It has some really good fats in it, like an avocado, so it keeps you really full. You don't have to like eat a lot of it, and you're like super full. So yeah, I would go coconut milk, and then oat milk after that. Oat milk has some more carbs to it, and you have to be careful because a lot of those brands are sweetened. So watch your sugar grams on those and your carbs. And yeah, and then goat and sheep's milk don't have that same protein as cow's milk. So those should be safe as well.
Amazing. Cool. Well, I love all these questions. That makes me so excited. And when we're back in person, we will even have more interaction, which makes me happy. Y'all. We might have a few more questions. I'll kill some time by asking you my random question.
Yeah.
I love to do seared salmon. So you cook it in the oil on the stove top till it gets really flaky. So good. Is it possible to do pan seared salmon? Like, can you use that method and also do like a garlic parmesan crust on it? Because a lot of the recipes I see require you to bake that, which would make sense. I don't know if it was possible to do that on the stove top.
So the thing about the garlic parmesan, so you're probably going to do like an egg wash so that your garlic parmesan crust sticks. And so then you might risk having like an eggy coating on your salmon, whenever you fry an egg. That was my first concern. And whenever you flip it, so with baking, you can like broil it and it's like consistent. You don't really have to like flip it. But when you flip it, is like how much of that crust is going to come off, and will it cook evenly? But you could try it and see how my first concern would be like, how eggy is it going to be?
Yeah, that makes sense. One more question. How long are canned foods good for? I think a lot of those have dates on the bottom or the top, like the metal part, or just somewhere on the can. I haven't opened my can of beans in a while. They stay good for a long time, but they do expire. But yeah, your thoughts on that, Lindsay?
Yeah, same thing. Just look at the dates. They have them printed on there, usually at the bottom.
Okay, one more question, or we got two more. Also wondering how to cook for a picky 16-month-old. She only prefers certain things such as chicken, plums, apples, and raisins, and she's okay-ish with noodles. So tips for cooking and feeding a month and a half old, or sorry, year and a half old baby. Approximately. I know my math was not correct there, but I rounded.
Yeah, that's tough. I think with babies, you just kind of have to try unfortunately, like everything. So if you like make something, see if you can like mash it up safely so they can eat it. And then introduce food to them slowly, like by mixing it into what they like. So if she likes, some of those other foods, then try to mix something like spinach, like to get some leafy greens in there and see if you can like sneak in some extra food. Or zucchini. Like zucchini is like a pretty neutral taste. But that might be like a good like gateway to some other vegetables. So try to pick foods that are kind of like neutral, but also are like really nutrient dense. Slowly start to like introduce them, mix them into the other foods and see if she'll take to it.
That's good advice. Another question. If I have a peanut allergy, what food should I avoid? Peanuts, peanut butter. That's all I have to say about that.
A lot of fried foods are fried in peanut oil. So you have to like always be like really vigilant. And peanut oil is used a lot because it has a high smoke point. So does avocado oil, but avocado oil is much more expensive. So a lot of people don't use it. So peanut oil is favorited in safflower. Safflower is pretty popular too. But so anytime you like go out and there's a fried food, especially if it's deep fried, or if it's even pan fried sometimes, because it has such a high smoke point, like olive oil has a really low smoke point, which means it'll burn much faster. But peanut oil, you can like cook at a higher heat, and so it'll tolerate it. And so it's used a lot for those frying. So you always ask if you're going to have like a pan fried or a deep fried food, like do they use peanut oil?
That is a great tip and definitely not one I would have thought to share. Awesome. All right, guys, we might need to cut it there. We're running up on our time, but I love this discussion and I hope that you guys are going to come back next week, Tuesday at 5. So yeah, are you good to shut her down for the night, Lindsay?
Sounds good.
Okay. I love it. You guys come on next week. We can talk more about these things and we're going to be talking about food more. Food is what we all have in common. We all got to cook. We all got to eat. So might as well tune in and learn something, right? And we also have classes throughout I know we got some new people on here tonight. We got classes throughout the week. This is the only one that we do live because it technically is after hours. Like I'm in my house right now. That's where I am. But tomorrow at 1 p.m. we're going to have a crafts class. And the next day we'll have yoga and we will have a cooking class. So we got some good stuff going on. So with that, I will say goodnight to you guys. You guys be safe and hopefully I'll see you next week.
Okay.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Thanks, Lindsay.